Time is the most valuable thing you have. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't pause. It doesn't wait for you to feel ready. And yet, most people treat time casually, emotionally, or reactively. They respond to interruptions. They chase distractions. They drift with no structure, no direction, no intention. But here's the truth. Productivity is not about doing more. It's about doing what matters most. When you master your time, you master your results. Productivity is psychology. Focus is psychology. Discipline is psychology. Everything begins with how your mind interprets effort, reward, urgency, and attention. In this audiobook, you'll learn the psychology of productivity, how to control your focus, structure your day, eliminate distractions, manage energy, and build the systems that create long-term success. Your life doesn't change by adding more hours. It changes by learning how to use the hours you already have. This audiobook will teach you how. Welcome to the science of turning time into mastery, and mastery into a better life. Chapter 1. Time is your greatest asset. Time is the single most valuable currency you will ever possess. Unlike money, connections, or opportunities, time cannot be replenished, borrowed, paused, or stored for later. Every minute that leaves your life is gone forever, and this irreversible nature makes time the ultimate asset. Yet, many people treat it casually, spending it without intention, without awareness, and without understanding its true worth. You can lose money and earn it back. You can lose possessions and replace them. You can lose status and rebuild it. But when you lose time, it does not return. This simple truth carries a profound psychological impact. The way you see time determines the way you live your life. Highly successful individuals understand this deeply. They don't view time as just another resource like energy or money. They treat time like a currency, the most precious one. They track it, protect it, and invest it wisely. They structure their days around high-value activities and guard their attention from anything that dilutes their focus. This mindset shift makes all the difference. From entrepreneurs to athletes, artists to innovators, the most effective people are not the busiest. They are the most intentional. They understand that life is not measured by hours lived, but by hours used with purpose. When you begin treating time not as something you have, but as something you spend, your entire approach to productivity changes. But here's the psychological truth most people overlook. Time management is really attention management. Every hour is useless if your attention is scattered, distracted, or fragmented. You might have 8 free hours in a day, but if your mind is unfocused, those hours vanish into the background noise of digital distractions, emotional overwhelm, and reactive living. Attention is the gateway through which time becomes productive or wasted. When your attention is strong, even a single focused hour creates massive progress. When your attention is weak, 10 hours can vanish without meaningful results. This is why mastering your time begins with mastering your focus. Choosing where your mind goes, not just where your body is. Understanding the value of an hour requires deep psychological awareness. Most people underestimate what can be done in a focused hour and overestimate what can be done in a scattered day. A single hour of uninterrupted work can push a major project forward. A single hour of learning every day can completely transform your career within a year. A single hour of self-reflection can redirect the course of your future. A single hour of exercise can improve your mental and physical health dramatically. The hour is small, but the impact is enormous. When you recognize this, you begin treating each hour with respect, not as something to casually kill or pass. You start asking yourself, is this hour creating a future I want or one I will regret? This shift naturally leads to a reevaluation of priorities. When time becomes precious, you stop wasting it on meaningless drama, draining relationships, aimless scrolling, or activities that offer only short-term comfort, but no long-term value. You become more selective about commitments, more careful about your routines, and more intentional with your environment. You begin choosing depth over distraction, progress over noise, and clarity over chaos. The value of your hour becomes identical to the value of your life, because they are inseparable. The way you use your hours shapes your days. Your days shape your years, and your years shape your destiny. To understand the true power of time, consider how life unfolds. Every transformation, personal growth, major achievements, emotional healing, financial success, career mastery, all happen hour by hour. No one becomes great overnight. No skill is mastered instantly. No dream becomes reality without hours invested. Time is the raw material of success, the blank canvas upon which your future is painted. When you waste time, you're literally wasting pieces of your life. When you honor time, you honor your potential. Purpose and productivity are not about dramatic events, but about cumulative hours spent in the right direction. Another essential aspect of time is opportunity cost. Every choice you make has a hidden cost. Saying yes to one thing means saying no to another. If you spend 2 hours on low-value tasks, you sacrifice 2 hours that could have gone toward building your future. Time is always being traded. The question is, are you trading it for something worthy? People who feel stuck, unfulfilled, or frustrated often aren't lacking ability or ambition. They're simply spending their time on the wrong things. When you begin examining how you spend your hours, patterns emerge. You start noticing what drains you versus what moves you forward. You identify which habits support your growth and which quietly sabotage it. Every minute is a vote for the kind of future you're creating. Are you voting for growth or stagnation? For clarity or confusion? For progress or procrastination? These choices determine your trajectory. You do not control everything in life, but you always control how you use your time. And in that control lies immense power. Time also shapes identity. The way you spend your hours reflects the person you believe yourself to be. If you see yourself as someone who values progress, your schedule will show it. If you see yourself as someone who avoids discomfort, your time will reveal that too. Your subconscious monitors your daily actions and uses them to construct your self-image. Therefore, mastering your time is also mastering your identity. When you use your time intentionally, you begin seeing yourself as capable, disciplined, and aligned. When you waste time habitually, you internalize the opposite. Your time habits quietly sculpt your self-worth, confidence, and future potential. Ultimately, the way you use time reflects the direction of your life. If your time is scattered, your life feels scattered. If your time is structured, your life feels stable. If your time is aligned with your goals, your life moves forward. If your time is spent on distractions, your life stays stagnant. Time is not just minutes passing. It is your life unfolding. Mastering your time is not about squeezing productivity into every second. It's about assigning value to your hours. It's about using time deliberately, consciously, and with purpose. It's about acknowledging that every hour matters because your life is made of hours. When you realize this deeply, everything changes. You stop wasting time because you stop wasting your life. You stop procrastinating because you stop postponing your future. You stop living reactively because you start living intentionally. Time is your greatest asset, and mastering it means mastering the life you are destined to build. Chapter 2. The Psychology of Focus. Focus is one of the most powerful cognitive abilities you possess. It is the mechanism that allows your brain to filter out noise, spotlight what matters, and guide your energy in a single direction. While people often talk about productivity tools or time hacks, the real foundation of high performance is psychological. Focus is the brain's ability to filter and prioritize. Your mind constantly receives information, sounds, notifications, thoughts, memories, impulses, but it cannot process everything at once. Focus is the gatekeeper that decides which information enters the forefront of your awareness and which fades into the background. This ability is controlled largely by the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for conscious thought, decision-making, planning, and deep concentration. The prefrontal cortex controls deep concentration, and it fatigues quickly. It has limited capacity and limited stamina. After long periods of intense focus, it becomes tired in the same way your muscles do after physical work. When the prefrontal cortex is fatigued, distractions become more tempting, mistakes increase, and willpower weakens. This is why studying or working for long stretches without breaks feels mentally exhausting. Focus is not infinite. It is a resource that must be managed. Understanding this is crucial because many people shame themselves for losing focus, assuming it is a character flaw. In reality, distraction is not a sign of weakness. It is a natural cognitive reaction. The brain is not built for sustained attention by default. It has to be trained. And it is constantly battling internal and external triggers that pull attention away. To master focus, you must understand the forces that work against it. One of the strongest is dopamine. Distraction feels rewarding because it releases dopamine. Every time you check your phone, open social media, or switch tasks, your brain gets a quick hit of dopamine, the neurochemical associated with pleasure, novelty, and reward. This creates a loop. You feel slightly bored or stuck. You check something for relief. Dopamine is released. Your brain learns that distraction equals reward. Over time, this makes focused work feel harder because it offers slow, delayed rewards, while distractions offer instant gratification. This is why scrolling feels easier than studying, why jumping between tasks feels tempting, why focusing for long periods feels like a struggle. Your brain is simply following the dopamine trail. But this also reveals a deeper truth. Focus can be trained. Like a muscle, it grows stronger through intentional repetition. Focus grows through repetition, environment, and clarity. The more often you practice sustained attention, the more your brain adapts. The more you remove distractions from your environment, the easier focus becomes. And the clearer your goals, the more motivated your brain is to remain locked in. Repetition works because the brain is shaped by habit. When you train yourself to work in uninterrupted blocks, even small ones, you are rewiring the neural circuits responsible for attention. Each time you resist distraction for a few minutes, you strengthen the focus pathways. Each time you give in to distraction, you strengthen the dopamine chase pathways. Focus training is essentially choosing which pathway to reinforce day after day. Your environment also plays a massive role. The brain is highly sensitive to cues. If your environment is filled with notifications, clutter, noises, open tabs, or tempting distractions, your brain must fight a constant battle. That battle drains energy. On the other hand, when your workspace is clean, quiet, and designed for deep work, the brain shifts into concentration more naturally. You are not fighting your surroundings. You are supported by them. Clarity is the third pillar. When you don't know exactly what you're trying to accomplish, your brain becomes restless. Ambiguity creates cognitive friction. Unclear tasks weaken motivation. That is why setting specific goals dramatically improves focus. When the brain knows exactly what to do and why it matters, it enters task mode much faster. Clarity eliminates mental confusion and reduces the internal resistance that often leads to distraction. But focus is not just a productivity skill. It is a life-shaping force. What you focus on determines your life's trajectory. Your attention directs your energy. Your energy creates your actions. Your actions shape your results. Your results build your identity. This chain begins with focus. If your mind constantly gravitates toward fear, negativity, or comparison, your life will move in that direction. If your focus is scattered, your progress will be inconsistent. If your attention is dominated by distractions, your goals will always remain out of reach. But if you learn to direct your focus toward goals, growth, learning, and meaningful effort, your life inevitably expands. What you repeatedly pay attention to becomes your reality. Focus is a magnifying glass. Wherever you aim it, that area intensifies. If you focus on problems, they grow. If you focus on solutions, they expand. If you focus on opportunities, you see more of them. If you focus on your purpose, it strengthens. This psychological principle is why some people thrive while others stagnate. The difference is not always intelligence or talent. It is the ability to direct attention toward the right things consistently. Focus determines what enters your mind and what shapes your future. To master the psychology of focus, you must adopt certain mental frameworks. 1. Understand that focus has limits. Your brain cannot concentrate indefinitely. It needs cycles of intense focus followed by recovery. Respecting this rhythm prevents burnout and maximizes performance. 2. Train your brain like a muscle. Short focus sessions build stamina. Start with 10 to 20 minutes of deep work and expand gradually. Repetition rewires your brain for concentration. 3. Control your environment. Remove triggers. Turn off notifications. Keep your workspace clear. Reduce digital noise. A distraction-free environment creates a distraction-free mind. 4. Make goals extremely clear. Your brain stays focused longer when tasks are simple and specific. Clarity reduces resistance and increases motivation. 5. Reward focus, not distraction. Train your brain to associate dopamine with progress instead of avoidance. Celebrate small wins. Track completed tasks. Build habits that feel rewarding. 6. Protect your attention like a rare resource. You only have limited cognitive fuel each day. Spend it on what matters. Don't get away cheaply. The psychology of focus reveals something profound. Your mind naturally wanders, but it can be trained to return. You may feel distracted, but you're not powerless. You can shape your attention the same way you shape a habit. Every focused moment strengthens your ability to create the life you want. Every distraction resisted builds your mental discipline. Every minute of deep work becomes an investment in your future self. Chapter 3. Eliminating Decision Fatigue. Every day, you make hundreds of decisions. What to wear, what to eat, when to start working, which task to tackle first, whether to check your phone, how to respond to messages, and countless more micro choices that seem harmless. But psychologically, each one drains a small amount of mental energy. Over time, these small drains accumulate into a heavy cognitive load. This leads to what psychologists call decision fatigue, the gradual decline in the quality of your decisions as your brain becomes overloaded. Every decision consumes mental energy. Even minor choices cost you attention, discipline, and willpower. When your mind is cluttered with too many choices, it becomes harder to focus, harder to start important tasks, and harder to maintain self-control. Decision fatigue doesn't show up suddenly. It creeps in quietly, revealing itself through procrastination, irritability, impulsive choices, or difficulty sticking to priorities. You may feel mentally tired even before the day truly begins. You may struggle to make decisions that should be simple or avoid making them altogether. Many people blame themselves for lack of discipline, but it's often not a discipline problem. It's a decision overload problem. The human brain isn't built for constant choice making. It thrives when routines, clarity, and structure are in place. This is why one of the most powerful productivity strategies is eliminating unnecessary decisions. Reducing choices increases willpower and clarity. Your willpower is not infinite. It weakens throughout the day as you use it. That's why the more decisions you make early on, the less mental energy you have for important decisions later. When you reduce the number of choices in your daily life, what to eat, what to wear, where to work, when to do certain tasks, You can serve mental fuel for the decisions that truly matter. This is not about being rigid. It's about being strategic. Think of your mental energy as a battery. Every eliminated choice is energy saved. Every routine is a battery charger. This is why routines are so powerful. Build routines to automate low-value decisions. A routine is not about restricting your life. It is about simplifying the simple so you can focus on the significant. When your morning, work sessions, exercise schedule, or evening habits are consistent, you remove dozens of unnecessary choices. For example, a set morning routine eliminates decisions about how to start your day. A consistent workout time eliminates decisions about when to exercise. A defined bedtime eliminates decisions about staying up or sleeping early. A weekly planning session eliminates decisions about what to focus on daily. Routines create structure, and structure creates focus. When your brain isn't constantly choosing between options, it gains clarity, steadiness, and emotional balance. Another powerful strategy is developing what psychologists call default settings. Create default settings in your life. Habits, schedules, rules. A default is a pre-decided choice that activates automatically unless you intentionally override it. Defaults make life simpler because they reduce the number of moments where you have to decide from scratch. For example, default breakfast, default outfit style or work attire, default work hours, default writing or study blocks, default no rules, e.g., no phone before 9 a.m., no social media during work hours. Default priorities for each day. Defaults don't limit freedom, they protect it. When basic parts of your life are automated, you have more freedom to create, think, build, and grow. You free your mental bandwidth for innovation instead of routine decision-making. Decision fatigue also shows up in environments filled with options. Clutter, whether physical or digital, doesn't just take up space, it increases cognitive load. Every item you see is a micro-decision. Should I use this? Do I need this? Should this stay here? Similarly, digital clutter, too many apps, open tabs, notifications, overwhelms the brain. Simplifying your environment reduces these hidden decision points. A clean space supports a clear mind. An organized digital world supports an organized mental world. But one of the most important aspects of eliminating decision fatigue is understanding the relationship between choice and quality. The fewer decisions you make, the better your decisions become. When you reduce the number of choices you face, you don't just save energy, you improve the quality of every remaining decision. This is because your best decisions require a rested mind, not an exhausted one. Strategic decisions, creative thinking, problem solving, and long-term planning all depend on cognitive strength. When your brain is drained by trivial choices earlier in the day, you sabotage your ability to make meaningful decisions later. Successful thinkers, innovators, and leaders across history have reduced their daily choices to preserve mental clarity. Many wore similar clothing every day, followed identical morning routines, or simplified their environments. This wasn't accidental. They understood that their mental energy needed to be preserved for what truly mattered: deep work, visionary ideas, meaningful goals, and complex challenges. If you spend your best cognitive hours choosing what to eat or when to work, you have little left for the tasks that define your future. Eliminating decision fatigue doesn't mean eliminating freedom. It means eliminating friction. It means removing unnecessary micro-choices that drain your strength. It means building a system that carries you forward instead of forcing you to think your way through every part of the day. It means recognizing that attention, willpower, and clarity are finite and protecting them like the valuable assets they are. Once you begin removing unnecessary decisions from your daily life, you notice powerful changes. You feel lighter mentally. You start important tasks earlier. You feel less overwhelmed. You make better choices. You stick to your goals more easily. You gain emotional stability. You reclaim cognitive energy for creativity and deep work. The mind thrives on simplicity. Energy flows where clarity exists. When decision fatigue fades, purpose grows. By eliminating the noise of constant choices, you finally create space for focus, productivity, and fulfillment. In mastering decisions, you master your direction. And when you master your direction, you begin mastering your life. Chapter 4. The Power of Prioritization. One of the greatest illusions in modern life is the belief that doing more means achieving more. People confuse movement with progress, effort with impact, and busyness with productivity. But productivity is not about how much you do. It's about how much of what you do actually matters. This is where prioritization becomes a transformative skill. Real productivity is built on the psychological ability to filter, rank, and choose what truly deserves your time. Not all tasks matter. Identify high-impact work. Some tasks create significant progress, while others merely create the feeling of progress. To master your time, you must learn to distinguish the meaningful from the meaningless. Every day presents you with a long list of potential actions, messages to answer, errands to run, obligations to fulfill, opportunities to consider, and tasks you feel pressure to complete. But not all of them contribute equally to your goals. Some tasks generate disproportionate results. Others barely move the needle. When you treat all tasks as equal, you drain yourself on low-value actions while neglecting the ones that actually shape your future. The psychological trap is that low-impact tasks often feel easier. They give quick satisfaction. They keep you comfortable, but they also keep you stagnant. This is why the 80-20 principle, also known as the Pareto principle, holds such immense power. Use the 80-20th rule. 20% effort creates 80% results. In nearly every area of life, a small fraction of actions create the majority of outcomes. A few habits determine your health. A few relationships influence your happiness. A few projects drive your success. A few tasks produce real progress. The majority of everything else is noise, activities that consume time without generating real growth. The key is identifying the 20% that matter most and dedicating your focus to them. The 80-20 rule also reveals a psychological truth. Your energy is far more valuable when directed strategically. If you spread your attention across dozens of tasks, you dilute the impact of your efforts. But if you concentrate that same energy on the most important actions, your effectiveness multiplies. When you begin looking at your life through the 80-20 lens, you ask better questions. What are the few things that generate the most impact? What tasks look urgent but contribute nothing? What am I doing out of habit rather than purpose? What actions truly move my goals forward? These questions correct your internal compass, shifting your mindset from do more to do what matters. To make prioritization practical, you must simplify your daily execution. Define your big 3 daily priorities. Instead of facing an overwhelming to-do list, choose the top 3 tasks that will create meaningful progress. These are not the easiest tasks, nor the quickest. They're the tasks that align with your long-term goals. The Big 3 system works because it creates clarity. It eliminates the paralysis of too many options. It focuses your attention on what actually counts. When you complete your Big 3, you experience a sense of accomplishment that reinforces momentum. Even if the rest of the day becomes chaotic, you've still moved forward significantly. Productivity becomes predictable because you consistently act on high-impact work. Without prioritization, your attention scatters. With prioritization, your attention sharpens. It becomes easier to say no to distractions and easier to stay committed to your direction. But prioritization requires breaking free from a deeply ingrained cultural myth. Busyness is not productivity. Clarity is. Many people fill their schedules to appear productive or feel useful. They stay busy so they won't feel guilty. They rush through tasks to feel accomplished. They chase the satisfaction of checking boxes instead of creating real value. But busyness is a trap. It drains energy without generating results. It keeps you reactive instead of intentional. It makes you feel productive while preventing you from doing meaningful work. True productivity comes from clarity, knowing what matters, why it matters, and when to do it. When you have clarity, your day becomes structured instead of chaotic. Your mind becomes calm instead of overwhelmed. You stop chasing every task that crosses your path and begin directing your time toward purposeful actions. Clarity removes the emotional stress of indecision. It frees you from a need to multitask, which splinters your attention and lowers your effectiveness. When you know your priorities, you stop guessing and start executing. The psychological shift from busyness to clarity also helps you break the habit of filling your time with low-impact actions. Human beings crave the feeling of completion, which is why many people gravitate towards small, easy tasks. But these tasks rarely move your life forward. They keep you comfortable but unfulfilled. Prioritization forces you to confront the real work, the work that creates growth, opportunity, and transformation. And this leads to the most important truth about productivity. Focus on what moves your life forward, not what fills your time. Ask yourself, what tasks will matter a year from now? What actions will reduce future stress? What projects align with my purpose and goals? What are the few tasks only I can do? What contributes to growth, progress, or long-term success? These questions shift your attention to the meaningful tasks, the ones that build your career, increase your skills, improve your health, strengthen your relationships, or accelerate your path toward your goals. Low-impact tasks may keep you busy, but high-impact tasks build your life. To master prioritization, adopt these core principles. 1. Identify the vital few tasks. List everything on your plate, then highlight the tasks that directly contribute to your highest goals. Focus on these first. 2. Cut or delegate the trivial many. If a task does not move you forward, eliminate it, automate it, or hand it off when possible. 3. Treat your priorities as appointments. Schedule them. Protect them. Don't negotiate with them. 4. Let clarity guide your day. Begin each morning knowing exactly what must be done. End each evening reviewing what mattered most. 5. Focus deeply, not broadly. Working on many low-impact tasks exhausts you. Working on one high-impact task energizes you. Prioritization is powerful because it reshapes how you see time. It shifts you from reactive living to intentional living. It transforms productivity from random activity into directional movement. When you prioritize effectively, your life gains structure, your goals become achievable, and your mental energy is used wisely. The truth is simple. Your life is built by what you prioritize. Your results come from what you choose to focus on. Your future is shaped by the tasks you decide matter most. Master prioritization, and you master progress. Chapter 5. Energy Time. One of the biggest misconceptions about productivity is the belief that the number of hours you work determines your success. People assume that longer days equal greater output, and that maximizing productivity means filling every minute with effort. But the truth is much deeper and far more liberating. Productivity depends on energy levels, not hours worked. You can work for 8 unfocused, drained hours and accomplish less than you could in 2 hours of high-energy, high-focus work. Time is fixed, but energy fluctuates. Time is measurable, but energy is variable. And it is this variable, your mental, emotional, and physical energy, that determines the true quality of your output. Your brain doesn't perform the same way throughout the day. It cycles through peaks and dips in alertness, creativity, focus, and cognitive sharpness. No amount of time management can compensate for low energy. When your energy is high, tasks feel easier, ideas flow naturally, decisions come quickly, and motivation rises. When your energy is low, everything feels heavy, slow, and frustrating. Even simple tasks become difficult. Productivity is therefore less about squeezing more hours into your day and more about matching your tasks to your energy states. To do this, you must understand your internal rhythms, your psychological and biological cycles that determine when you perform best. This leads to one of the most powerful principles of high performance. Understand your biological prime time, your peak hours. Your biological prime time is the window of the day when your focus, creativity, memory, and problem-solving abilities are at their highest. For some people, this is early morning. For others, it's midday or late evening. There is no universal peak time. It is unique to each person. The key is identifying your own natural rhythm and aligning your most important tasks with it. You can discover your prime hours by paying attention for a week. When do you feel mentally sharpest? When do complex tasks feel easier? When does your energy naturally dip? When do you feel creative or motivated? Track your energy levels in 2-hour blocks. Patterns will emerge, revealing when your brain is at its strongest. These are the hours you must guard and use for high-impact work. Writing, strategizing, studying, solving difficult problems, making key decisions, or engaging in deep work. When you align your tasks with your prime time, you multiply your output without increasing your hours. But your biological rhythm is affected by lifestyle factors that directly impact cognitive performance. Sleep, nutrition, and stress control cognitive performance. Most people underestimate the role of physiological health in productivity. Your brain is part of your body, and its performance depends heavily on how well you treat yourself. Lack of sleep doesn't just make you tired. It reduces attention span, weakens memory, lowers motivation, increases anxiety, and makes distraction irresistible. Many people don't have productivity problems. They have sleep problems disguised as productivity issues. Nutrition plays a similar role. Your brain needs glucose, hydration, healthy fats, minerals, and vitamins to function optimally. Poor nutrition leads to mental fog, irritability, sluggishness, and inconsistent focus. Diets high in sugar and processed foods create energy spikes and crashes that damage productivity cycles. Balanced nutrition stabilizes cognition and creates steady energy. Stress is another major factor. Chronic stress floods your brain with cortisol, which restricts creative thinking, weakens concentration, and narrows your ability to process information. A stressed brain cannot produce high-quality work consistently. Managing stress through breathing, breaks, exercise, reflection, or simple rituals is essential for preserving mental clarity. These factors shape your energy more than discipline ever will. A well-rested, well-fed, emotionally stable mind can do more in 1 hour than an exhausted mind can do in 5. When you view productivity through the lens of energy, not time, you begin optimizing your entire day differently. This brings us to a game-changing principle. Match tasks to energy. Hard tasks during peak, easy tasks during lows. Instead of planning your day based on a clock, plan it based on your energy curve. During high energy periods, tackle deep work, creative work, or strategic work. During medium energy periods, handle routine tasks, communication, or administrative work. During low energy moments, handle easy tasks, organizing, replying to simple messages, planning, reviewing, or resting. This creates flow. Instead of forcing your brain to do heavy tasks during low energy, which leads to procrastination, you align your work with your biology. As a result, your productivity increases, your stress decreases, your work feels easier. You stop fighting against yourself. This strategy alone can double your output. When you do difficult work at the wrong time, it feels draining. When you do it at the right time, it feels natural. But none of this works if you don't protect your energy like a valuable resource. And you must. Protect your energy as aggressively as you protect your time. People guard their schedules, but allow anything to drain their energy. Constant notifications, toxic conversations, bad sleep habits, cluttered environments, unhealthy routines, emotional drama. These are energy thieves, and they sabotage productivity far more than people realize. Protecting your energy means saying no to draining commitments, avoiding multitasking, which fractures attention, creating boundaries around deep work hours, reducing unnecessary mental clutter, taking breaks before burnout sets in, avoiding people who constantly bring negativity, maintaining habits that recharge your body and mind. Your energy is your fuel. Without fuel, time is useless. With fuel, even a small amount of time becomes powerful. A single energized hour can produce breakthroughs, progress, and clarity. A depleted hour produces frustration, procrastination, and stress. When you view your life through the energy-first lens, everything changes. You choose habits that nourish you. You schedule tasks around your rhythms. You stop forcing yourself into inefficient patterns. You prioritize recovery as much as effort. You create more output with less struggle. Time may be the canvas, but energy is the paint. Without it, nothing meaningful happens. When you master your energy, productivity becomes natural. Focus becomes effortless. Progress becomes inevitable. Energy isn't just more important than time. It is the foundation upon which your entire life's performance is built. Chapter 6. The Art of Single Tasking. Multitasking is one of the biggest myths of modern productivity. In a world that glorifies doing more, faster, and all at once, many people believe that juggling tasks increases efficiency. But psychology and neuroscience reveal the opposite. Multitasking doesn't help you accomplish more. It fragments your attention and lowers the quality of your thinking. Multitasking is a myth. It fragments focus. The human brain cannot fully concentrate on multiple complex tasks simultaneously. Instead, it rapidly switches between them, burning energy with every transition. This constant shifting is what leads to mental fatigue, shallow work, and increased mistakes. The brain pays a heavy cognitive switching cost every time attention moves from one task to another. When you try to multitask, your focus becomes divided. You never truly immerse yourself in anything long enough to create depth or quality. Tasks take longer, stress increases, and creativity drops. Even worse, multitasking trains your brain to stay distracted. It builds a habit loop of constantly seeking stimulation, jumping from one thing to the next, and avoiding sustained concentration. Over time, it damages your ability to enter deep work, the mental state where high-quality, meaningful productivity is born. This is why the most effective performers, artists, thinkers, athletes, entrepreneurs, all rely on one strategy. Single tasking increases quality, speed, and memory. Single tasking means doing one thing at a time with full attention. It is the opposite of the scattered multitasking mindset. When you dedicate your concentration to one task, your brain operates in a state of cognitive coherence. Neural circuits fire smoothly, thoughts connect more clearly, and information is processed more deeply. The result? Higher quality work, faster completion times, greater accuracy, and stronger memory retention. The brain loves immersive focus. When you give it one task, it enters what psychologists call flow, an optimal state of deep engagement where time slows down, distractions fade, and performance rises. This is where breakthroughs happen, ideas form, and true progress is made. Single tasking isn't about simplicity or slowness. It's about unlocking the brain's full capability. But single tasking doesn't happen by accident. It requires environment, intention, and structure. One of the simplest but most powerful techniques is keep one tab open, one task visible, one goal active. Digital clutter is one of the biggest enemies of focus. With dozens of tabs open, endless notifications, and constant digital noise, your brain is tempted to jump from one thing to another. Every open tab is a mental hook, a silent invitation to switch tasks. When you close everything except the one task at hand, you reduce cognitive friction. Your attention becomes anchored. Your mind stops scanning for alternatives and begins committing fully. The same applies to physical space. A desk full of unrelated items, notes, or devices divides attention. A clean, minimal workspace signals your brain, focus here. When your digital and physical environments reflect your intention, single tasking becomes far easier. However, focus also needs time structure. This is where time blocking becomes essential. Use time blocks to create deep work sessions. A time block is a dedicated period, usually 25, 45, or 90 minutes, where you commit to working on one task with zero interruptions. During this block, notifications are off. Your phone is away. Only one window or tool is open. You don't switch tasks. You don't check messages. You don't browse aimlessly. This creates psychological containment. Your brain understands the boundaries. It learns that for this block of time, only one activity matters. With repetition, time blocking becomes a mental ritual, a signal to your mind that it's time to enter deep work mode. After the block ends, you take a short break, reset, and begin another if needed. Deep work sessions are the crown jewel of single tasking because they harness the brain's full strength. They eliminate the greatest enemy of productivity, fragmentation. When you immerse fully without interruptions, your mind performs at peak capacity. Ideas connect. Learning accelerates. Clarity increases. Even difficult tasks become easier because your cognitive resources are unified instead of scattered. This leads us to the core psychological truth of this chapter. The mind performs best in uninterrupted immersion. Immersion allows your brain to build momentum. Momentum creates flow. Flow creates mastery. The brain thrives when it can follow a thought to completion without being forced to restart repeatedly. Every interruption, even a tiny one, breaks immersion. A single notification can destroy 10 to 20 minutes of focus. A quick glance at your phone resets your mental state. A small task switch derails your train of thought. This is why multitasking feels tiring. Your brain is constantly rebuilding lost momentum. Immersion, by contrast, creates mental smoothness. Your thoughts deepen. Your progress accelerates. You reach this second layer of work, the deeper, more meaningful thinking that only happens after sustained attention. This is where complex problems get solved, where creativity emerges, where impactful work is produced. To master the art of single tasking, you must cultivate mental discipline and environmental support. 1. Decide what matters most right now. Choose one task. Commit to it fully. 2. Remove everything else from view. Close tabs, silence notifications, clear your desk. 3. Use time blocks to structure concentration. Start with 25 minutes and gradually work up to longer deep work sessions. 4. Protect your attention ruthlessly. Interruptions are the enemy. Minimize them. 5. Train your brain through repetition. The more you practice single tasking, the stronger your focus becomes. Single tasking is not about doing less. It is about doing better. It is about bringing your full mental power to the work that matters. It is about giving your brain the conditions it needs to thrive. When you move through life one focused task at a time, you not only become more productive, you become calmer, clearer, and more intentional. In a noisy, distraction-filled world, single tasking is not a limitation. It is a superpower. Chapter 7. Building systems that run your life. Productivity is not built on motivation. It is built on systems. Motivation rises and falls depending on mood, energy, emotion, and circumstance. Systems, however, are stable. They don't depend on how you feel. They don't fluctuate with your environment. They don't require constant willpower. That is why people who rely on motivation struggle, while people who rely on systems succeed consistently. Systems create predictable results. A system is simply a repeatable process that ensures progress happens automatically, no matter what. When you build strong systems, your life runs with clarity, order, and momentum. Most people fail not because they are lazy or unambitious, but because they try to manage their lives through spontaneous effort. They wait for the right moment. They depend on bursts of motivation. They rely on memory instead of structure. But the brain is not built for this. It craves patterns. It thrives on routines. It performs best when there is predictability. Systems remove uncertainty and reduce the mental load of constantly deciding what to do. You don't have to think, you just follow the structure. And that is the foundation of effortless productivity. Habits reduce mental effort by automating good behaviors. Habits are the building blocks of systems. When a behavior becomes habitual, it moves from the conscious brain to the subconscious, requiring almost no mental energy to perform. This is why brushing your teeth or tying your shoes feels effortless. They are automated patterns. When you turn positive behaviors into habits, you remove the friction that makes them difficult. You no longer negotiate with yourself each day. You no longer debate whether to start. You simply do, because your brain has accepted the behavior as part of your identity. Habits conserve cognitive energy by reducing decision-making. Instead of repeatedly choosing whether to work out, meditate, study, plan your day, or sleep on time, your habits decide for you. And this decision automation is what creates long-term success. A good habit repeated daily becomes far more powerful than a burst of motivation repeated occasionally. Productivity becomes smoother, less stressful, and far more consistent. But habits don't exist in isolation. They must be organized within a framework. This is why routines matter. Build daily routines for morning, work, and evening. Your routines are the systems that structure your day. They create a rhythm that keeps your mind organized and your time intentional. Each part of the day serves a different purpose, and building a routine around that purpose makes life dramatically easier. Your morning routine sets the tone for your mindset and energy. It primes your brain for focus, clarity, and momentum. A strong morning routine may include hydration, exercise, planning, mindfulness, deep work, or learning, but the key is consistency. When your morning has structure, your day becomes aligned before it even begins. Your work routine determines your productivity. This includes when you start working, how you structure your tasks, how you take breaks, how you protect focus time, and how you communicate. A work routine prevents decision fatigue, eliminates chaos, and ensures progress happens predictably. Even a simple structure like deep work first, admin work later, transforms your effectiveness. Your evening routine supports recovery, the most underrated part of productivity. It helps your mind wind down, reflect, and reset. It affects your sleep quality, your next day's focus, and your emotional balance. A peaceful evening routine, journaling, reading, disconnecting from devices, light movement, ensures you wake up ready for a strong day. Without recovery, even the best systems collapse. Once routines are in place, your life becomes guided by structure instead of impulses. And this is why systems outperform motivation every time. Motivation is emotional. Systems are mechanical. Motivation requires energy. Systems preserve energy. Motivation demands discipline. Systems reduce the need for discipline. With a system, you do not rely on inspiration or mood. You rely on a proven process that moves you forward automatically. Systems create consistency, and consistency creates results. Think of your system as a personal autopilot. It takes over when you're tired, stressed, unmotivated, or distracted. It ensures that even on your worst days, you still make progress, Maybe small progress, but progress nonetheless. And that's what separates successful individuals from everyone else. They still move forward when others stop. A system makes productivity your default setting. When your life runs through systems, productivity stops being something you force. It becomes something you naturally fall into. You don't struggle to begin. You know exactly what comes next. You don't fight with procrastination. Your routine eliminates the gaps where procrastination thrives. You don't burn out. Your system includes recovery. You don't constantly rethink your processes. They're already planned and refined. A good system creates 1. Predictable progress. You know that each day pushes you closer to your long-term goals. 2. Reduced mental burden. You spend less time deciding and more time doing. 3. Emotional stability. The structure reduces stress, anxiety, and overwhelm. 4. Identity reinforcement. Every repeated action strengthens the identity you want to embody. 5. Long-term sustainability. You maintain productivity for months and years, not just days. To build systems that run your life, ask yourself, what tasks do I repeatedly struggle with? What parts of my day feel chaotic? Which habits support the life I want? What behaviors should be automated? What routines would make my days smoother? Then build structures around them. Automate, simplify, standardize, remove friction, reduce choice. Let your systems carry the load so your mind can focus on growth, not survival. The more your life becomes system-driven, the less you depend on fluctuating emotions or unpredictable motivation. Your life becomes steady. Your progress becomes consistent. Your purpose becomes actionable. When systems run your life, you don't just work better, you live better. Chapter 8. Eliminating distractions. In today's world, distractions aren't accidental, they are engineered. Every notification, every app, every alert, every unnecessary piece of clutter in your environment is designed to pull your mind away from what matters. The modern attention economy thrives on capturing your focus and selling it back to you in fractured pieces. This is why productivity feels harder than ever. You're not unfocused because you lack discipline. You are unfocused because your environment is built to hijack your mind. Distractions are designed to steal attention. The moment you understand this, everything changes. Productivity stops being a matter of willpower and becomes a matter of design. Distractions are not random. They follow predictable psychological patterns. They are built around novelty, dopamine, emotional triggers, convenience, and habit loops. Every time you get notification, your brain receives a small reward, a hit of dopamine that says, check now. Over time, this rewires your brain to constantly seek stimulation. That is why even when notifications are off, you feel the urge to check your phone independently. This shows that distractions aren't just external, they become internal. They live inside your mind, shaping your attention patterns. To regain control, you must target distractions at their root. Remove triggers, notifications, noise, clutter, apps. A trigger is anything that cues your brain to shift focus. These include visual triggers, messy desks, auditory triggers, alerts, digital triggers, messages, and habitual triggers, opening apps automatically. Each trigger pulls a small portion of your attention away, and your brain loses momentum. Removing triggers is the fastest way to regain cognitive power. Notifications are the #1 attention thief. Turn off anything non-essential: social media, group chats, promotional alerts, and unnecessary reminders. Keep only mission-critical notifications active. Noise disrupts deep work. Use noise-canceling headphones, white noise, or a quiet space to maintain focus. Even small sounds break concentration more than you realize. Clutter creates visual chaos. A clean workspace signals your brain to stay centered. Physical order creates mental order. Apps can be removed, restricted, or hidden. If you can't uninstall them, put them in folders or off your home screen. The key is making distractions harder to access. Once triggers are removed, you must redesign your environment. Build a distraction-proof environment. Your environment is either supporting your focus or sabotaging it. A distraction-proof environment doesn't happen by accident. It is crafted intentionally. Start by identifying where you often lose focus. Is it your desk, your phone, your browser, your workspace layout? Then begin designing your space for concentration. Keep only essential work tools visible. Use separate spaces for work, relaxation, and entertainment. Limit visual noise. Too many objects stimulate the mind. Store unrelated items outside your work zone. Keep your phone outside your reach during deep work. An environment built for focus does two things. It reduces temptation and increases immersion. The fewer distractions available, the fewer battles your mind must fight. This creates a psychological state of flow, a deep, sustained level of concentration. But environment alone isn't enough. You need psychological boundaries to protect your attention. Use boundaries, focus hours, do not disturb physical separation. Boundaries are commitments you create to shield your focus from external demands. Without boundaries, people will interrupt you, notifications will invade your concentration, and your day will become reactive instead of intentional. Set focus hours, periods where deep work happens with zero interruptions. These can be 1 to 3 hours, depending on your energy and schedule. During focus hours, no messages, no calls, no browsing, no social media, no switching tasks. Tell people in your life about your focus hours so they understand your availability. Use Do Not Disturb mode religiously. Your phone should be silent during all focused work periods. This simple boundary protects your mind from micro-disruptions that can derail 20 to 30 minutes of concentration each time. Create physical separation whenever possible. If you work from home, dedicate a specific area for work. If you live in a busy space, position your setup away from noise zones. Physical boundaries reinforce mental boundaries. Distractions lose their power when you stop relying on willpower alone. And this leads to the final truth. You don't fight distractions. You outdesign them. Most people try to resist distractions through discipline, but this rarely works. Willpower is limited and gets depleted throughout the day. Environment, on the other hand, does not run out of strength. Systems don't get tired. Design doesn't rely on emotion or motivation. It simply works. Outdesigning distractions means intentionally engineering your environment, routines, and digital habits so that distractions cannot easily reach you. You make the wrong behaviors harder and the right behaviors easier. You remove temptation instead of resisting it. You simplify instead of struggle. The best performers in the world don't have superhuman self-control. They have super-controlled environments. They understand that attention is fragile and precious, and they build protective systems around it. They turn their surroundings into allies instead of enemies. They create spaces that promote focus rather than destroy it. Here's what happens when you eliminate distractions through design. Your mind becomes quieter. Your focus becomes sharper. Your work becomes deeper. Your creativity increases. Your stress decreases. Your productivity multiplies. Distractions are not just interruptions. They are leaks. Every distraction drains a small amount of your potential. Every design choice that removes distraction frees a small amount of your greatness. In a world fighting for your attention, eliminating distractions isn't just a productivity skill. It is an act of reclaiming your mind, your time, and your life. Chapter 9. The emotional side of procrastination. Procrastination is often mislabeled as laziness, lack of discipline, or poor time management. But none of these explanations reveal the truth. At its core, procrastination is not a character flaw. It is a psychological and emotional response. Procrastination is emotional avoidance, not laziness. When you delay a task, you are not avoiding the task itself. You are avoiding the emotions associated with it. These emotions may include fear, uncertainty, doubt, anxiety, or even boredom. The task is merely the trigger. The emotion is the real barrier. Understanding this shifts your entire approach. Instead of fighting yourself, you start understanding yourself. Your brain is wired to avoid discomfort and seek safety. When a task evokes uncomfortable emotions, your mind labels it as a threat. So you escape, not consciously, but automatically. You turn to distractions because they temporarily soothe the discomfort. You scroll, snack, clean, watch videos, or do anything except the task causing emotional tension. This pattern is not weak, it is human. But once you become aware of it, you gain the power to change it. The emotions that fuel procrastination are often deeply rooted. Fear, doubt, and overwhelm trigger delay. Fear of failure makes you hesitate. Fear of imperfection keeps you from starting. Fear of judgment makes you overthink. Self-doubt makes the task feel bigger than your ability. Overwhelm convinces you that the task is too heavy to begin. These emotions create internal friction, a psychological resistance that feels like a wall standing between you and action. You're not avoiding the task because it's hard. You're avoiding it because it threatens your emotional comfort. The brain would rather protect your feelings now, even if it harms your future later. This emotional loop explains why procrastination often feels irrational. A part of you wants to work, but another part wants to protect you from discomfort. And because emotions are powerful, avoidance wins. But procrastination doesn't go away on its own. Avoiding a task strengthens the emotional resistance behind it. The longer you delay, the heavier the task feels. This is why a small task can feel enormous after days or weeks of avoidance. The emotional weight grows even when the actual work stays the same. The solution is not to force yourself through fear, but to dismantle the emotional barrier itself. One of the most effective psychological strategies for this is breaking the task down. Break tasks into micro steps to reduce psychological resistance. The brain resists big, vague tasks because they feel threatening. But when you break a task into tiny, specific steps, the threat shrinks. A micro step is so small that it doesn't trigger emotional resistance. Instead of finish the project, the micro step becomes write one sentence, read one page, open the document, set a 5-minute timer. These small steps bypass emotional resistance. They make the task approachable. When the brain realizes the step is safe and easy, it allows you to begin. And beginning is everything, because once you start, momentum takes over. Your emotional state shifts from avoidance to action. The task no longer feels impossible. You discover that you can handle more than you thought. Micro steps aren't about speed. They're about opening the psychological doorway. Another powerful truth about procrastination is that clarity comes from action, not the other way around. Many people wait to feel confident, ready, or inspired before starting. But waiting is a trap. You gain clarity after you begin, not before. This is why you must start before you're ready. Action rewires fear. When you take action despite resistance, your brain receives new evidence. I can do this. Fear loses its power. Every small action rewires your emotional response to the task, replacing fear with familiarity. The more familiar a task feels, the less emotional weight it carries. This is why the first step is always the hardest. Your brain hasn't yet learned that the task is safe. Action also builds emotional momentum. Once you begin, your brain shifts out of the emotional center, the amygdala, and into the problem-solving center, the prefrontal cortex. Your focus increases, anxiety decreases, and your thinking becomes clearer. The emotional fog that felt overwhelming starts to fade. You begin to feel capable, engaged, and grounded. Starting is not the reward, it is the transformation. This leads to the final truth of procrastination psychology. The antidote to procrastination is small, consistent movement. You overcome procrastination not through force, guilt, or pressure, but through gentle, steady action. Even small progress changes your emotional relationship with the task. Consistency matters more than intensity. A little progress daily builds momentum, confidence, and emotional resilience. Soon, what once felt heavy becomes manageable. What once triggered fear becomes routine. What once seemed overwhelming becomes part of your identity as someone who follows through. Productivity is not about speed. It is about emotional management. When you understand your emotional triggers, you stop blaming yourself and start supporting yourself. You learn how to calm your mind, structure your tasks, and take action without needing perfection or confidence to lead the way. You begin to trust yourself. Procrastination is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that your emotions need guidance, not judgment. And when you learn to move gently and consistently, you reclaim your time, your confidence, and your power. Chapter 10. Productive Decision-Making. Every action you take begins with a decision. Decisions shape momentum. Decisions determine direction. Decisions create the bridge between thinking and doing. This is why productivity is not only about time or energy, it is deeply rooted in your ability to decide. Decision-making is the gateway to action. You can have the clearest goals, the strongest systems, and the best intentions, but without the ability to make decisions swiftly and confidently, productivity collapses. Indecision becomes the silent force that keeps you stuck. Making decisions quickly and effectively is one of the most powerful psychological skills you can develop. Many people hesitate before making decisions because they fear making the wrong one. They want certainty, perfection, or reassurance. But certainty rarely comes before action. It comes from action. This is why productive people embrace a simple truth. Choose quickly. Perfect later. Quick decisions don't mean careless decisions. They mean choosing based on available information, intuition, and priorities instead of overanalyzing endlessly. Perfection is not the starting point. It is refined through movement, experience, and feedback. You learn more by doing than by thinking. When you choose quickly, you build momentum. When you wait for the perfect choice, you fall into paralysis. To make this easier, productive thinkers rely on decision-making rules, small frameworks that simplify the process and reduce mental friction. These rules guide you when your mind feels uncertain or overloaded. Use simple rules: 2-minute rule, 10, 10, 10 rule, time limits. The 2-minute rule is straightforward. If something takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. This prevents small tasks from turning into mental clutter. It reduces procrastination and frees energy for larger tasks. The 10-10-10 rule, popularized by psychologist Susie Welch, asks 3 questions. How will this decision feel in 10 minutes? How will it feel in 10 months? How will it feel in 10 years? This rule instantly shifts your perspective from short-term emotion to long-term clarity. It helps you avoid reacting impulsively or emotionally. Time limits are also incredibly effective. Giving yourself 30 seconds to choose between 2 options or 10 minutes to make a plan forces your brain to focus and commit. Time limits reduce overthinking because they eliminate endless loops of analysis. These rules work because they reduce the psychological weight of decision-making. When you remove complexity, the mind becomes free to act. And this is essential because hesitation drains a shocking amount of cognitive energy. Indecision drains more energy than the wrong decision. When you can't decide, your mind stays in an open loop. You keep revisiting the same question, replaying scenarios, imagining consequences, and amplifying fear. This mental looping exhausts you far more than taking action ever would. A wrong decision at least moves you forward and provides feedback. An undecided mind moves nowhere, but still burns enormous energy. It creates anxiety, overwhelm, self-doubt, and inertia. This is why the most successful people decide fast and refine later. Their momentum teaches them faster than contemplation ever could. They conserve energy by closing loops quickly instead of keeping decisions open and unresolved. Psychology calls this decision closure the emotional relief your brain feels when a choice is made. It frees mental bandwidth. It restores focus. It unlocks motivation. When decisions pile up, your brain becomes overloaded. When decisions are made, even imperfectly, your brain feels lighter. This leads to the final and most powerful truth about productive decision-making. Clarity grows through choosing, not waiting. Waiting for the perfect answer creates stagnation. Waiting for more information creates delay. Waiting for confidence creates fear. The longer you wait, the harder decisions become. Clarity is not something you find before deciding. Clarity is what decision-making gives you. When you make a decision, you step into movement. You gain evidence, experience, feedback, and perspective. You discover what works and what doesn't. You refine your direction. You adjust your strategy. You evolve. Waiting keeps you blind. Choosing gives you sight. Every decision builds self-trust. Every choice strengthens your identity. Every act of commitment improves your clarity. You become someone who takes action, someone who adapts, someone who progresses, instead of someone who waits for the right moment to start living. Productive decision-making means you decide quickly, not impulsively. You use rules to simplify choices. You avoid perfectionism. You conserve mental energy. You learn through action. You trust yourself more with every choice. To master this psychology, try these practices. 1. Limit options. Too many choices create paralysis. Narrow choices to 2 to 3 options. 2. Decide with intention, not emotion. Ask, what matters most long-term? 3. Create rules, not debates. Rules reduce thinking and increase consistency. 4. Accept that no decision is risk-free. But indecision carries the greatest risk of all: no progress. 5. Build decision momentum. Start your day with easy decisions. The confidence compounds. 6. Trust your ability to adjust later. You are allowed to refine. You are allowed to correct. You are allowed to change direction. The truth is simple yet profound. You don't need perfect decisions to build a powerful life. You need decisions, period. Every choice you make builds clarity. Every action you take builds direction. Every step you commit to builds your future. Master decision-making, and you unlock the door to a life filled with movement, momentum, and unstoppable progress. Chapter 11. Managing your environment. Most people try to improve their productivity by working harder, pushing themselves, or relying on discipline. But discipline alone cannot carry you for long. You don't rise to the level of your motivation. You fall to the level of your environment. Your environment shapes your behavior more than willpower. The spaces you live and work can influence your focus, decisions, mood, habits, and even your identity. If your environment is cluttered, noisy, chaotic, or filled with distractions, your productivity will constantly feel like an uphill battle. But when your environment is designed for clarity and focus, productivity becomes natural, almost effortless. Environmental psychology shows that human behavior is heavily shaped by cues around us. Your surroundings silently nudge you towards certain choices. A phone on the table invites checking. A messy desk invites procrastination. A TV in the background invites distraction. A cluttered digital space invites mental overload. You may intend to focus, but if your environment is full of triggers pulling you away, your mind will struggle. This is why people often feel most productive in a clean cafe, a library, or a quiet room. The environment supports concentration instead of fighting it. One of the most powerful ways to improve your environment is to simplify it. Remove clutter. Physical simplicity creates mental clarity. Clutter is not just a visual distraction. It creates cognitive noise. Every object your eyes register requires a microprocessing moment in your brain. This raises stress levels and drains mental energy. A cluttered desk increases the feeling of overwhelm because it constantly reminds you of unfinished tasks, obligations, or decisions waiting to be made. When you clear your space, you clear your mind. Physical simplicity helps you think clearly. It reduces emotional tension. It creates a sense of control, making it easier to take action. You don't need a minimalist, empty space, just a space with intention. Keep only what supports your work. Remove what distracts you. Organize what remains. A clean environment builds an internal sense of order that naturally enhances focus. But clarity isn't only about removing clutter. It's about creating zones of purpose. Dedicated work zones increase productivity. When you work in the same place every day, your brain begins associating that space with focus. This is a psychological principle called context-dependent memory. The environment becomes a cue for concentration. That's why students struggle to study in their beds. The brain associates beds with rest, not work. To build a strong productivity identity, you need a space reserved for deep work. Your work zone doesn't need to be large or expensive. It could be a desk, a corner of a room, a table by a window, as long as the space is used only for work. Over time, sitting in that spot automatically triggers your brain into focus mode. This reduces the need for self-discipline. The environment takes over the job of preparing your mind. This is how professionals sustain long hours of concentration. Their environment carries part of the mental load. A great environment also includes the people around you. Surround yourself with focused, disciplined people. Human behavior is contagious. Emotions, energy, habits, and even ambitions spread from one person to another. If you spend your time around unmotivated individuals, your mindset drops. If you spend your time with disciplined people, your standards rise naturally. This is due to a psychological phenomenon known as social mirroring. You subconsciously adopt the patterns of your environment, including the people in it. If your environment includes people who complain, procrastinate, gossip, or avoid challenges, you'll feel pulled into their rhythm. But if you're surrounded by people who value growth, consistency, and focus, your mind aligns with theirs. You absorb discipline by proximity. You gain energy from shared direction. You build habits that reflect your social environment. This doesn't mean cutting people out of your life aggressively. It simply means being intentional about your influences. Create productive circles. Join communities where focus is normal. Spend more time around people who elevate your mindset. Limit exposure to people who drain it. Ultimately, environment is not limited to physical space or social circles. It includes routines, digital tools, cues, and emotional atmosphere. And this leads to the most profound truth of environmental management. A good environment reduces the need for discipline. Discipline feels hard when your environment works against you. You constantly resist temptation, noise, clutter, and distractions. But when your environment is aligned with your goals, discipline becomes effortless. Why? Because you're no longer fighting your surroundings. Your surroundings are helping you. A powerful environment does the following for you. Makes the right behaviors easy. Makes the wrong behaviors difficult. Reduces decision fatigue. Eliminates distraction triggers. Supports your energy and clarity. Reinforces your identity. Encourages consistent action. Imagine a workspace where your desk is clear, your tools are within reach, your notifications are off, your phone is in another room, your schedule is visible, your chair is comfortable, and your lighting is calm. In such an environment, focus becomes the default. You don't have to convince yourself to work. Your space naturally guides you into the right state of mind. Similarly, imagine a morning routine that flows smoothly, a home that feels organized, a digital world that is decluttered, and a social circle that inspires you. In such an environment, You don't rely on willpower to stay consistent. Everything around you supports the identity you want to embody. Managing your environment is one of the highest leverage decisions you can make for productivity. It shapes how you think, feel, act, and grow. Once you create an environment aligned with your goals, you no longer fight for focus. Focus becomes your natural state. Your environment is not just where you live. It is the foundation upon which your future is built. Shape your environment intentionally, and it will shape you into the person you are meant to become. Chapter 12. The Power of Routine. In a world filled with unpredictability, shifting responsibilities, mental noise, and constant digital interruptions, routines serve as a stabilizing force. They give structure to your day, clarity to your mind, and direction to your efforts. Many people believe that productivity depends on motivation, but those who consistently perform at high levels know the truth. Routines anchor your day and reduce stress. A strong routine eliminates the chaos of constant decision-making. It frees your mind from unnecessary choices and emotional turbulence, allowing you to operate with calm intention rather than reacting to every moment. Routines are not restrictive, they are liberating. They create a rhythm for your life that keeps you grounded even when everything around you feels uncertain. By following a pattern, your brain conserves decision-making energy, allowing you to invest that energy into meaningful work instead of wasting it on, what should I do next? When your routines are aligned with your goals, they become invisible engines that drive your progress forward. This is the foundation of effortless productivity. The most influential routine of your day is the one that begins it. A powerful morning routine primes the brain for focus. Your morning determines your momentum. If you wake up into chaos, grabbing your phone, reacting to messages, rushing, skipping self-care, your brain becomes scattered and reactive. If you wake up into structure, hydration, calmness, planning, movement, learning, your brain becomes centered and focused. A morning routine signals your mind that the day has purpose. Morning routines can be simple. You don't need a complicated ritual. The key is consistency and clarity. Even 20 to 30 minutes of structured activity can transform the way your brain functions throughout the day. For example, hydrate immediately to activate energy. Spend a few minutes in silence or mindfulness. Move your body to increase blood flow to the brain. Journal or plan to set intentions. Begin with a small, meaningful task to create momentum. These morning actions sharpen cognitive performance, reduce stress, and cultivate emotional balance. They prime your identity for productivity. When your mornings start strong, your entire day becomes a reflection of that strength. But while mornings shape your momentum, evening routines close mental loops and improve sleep. The day accumulates unfinished thoughts, emotional residue, and cognitive clutter. Evening routines help you process the day, unwind, and transition into rest. Without a structured evening, your mind stays active, replaying conversations, reviewing tasks, or worrying about tomorrow. This leads to poor sleep, anxiety, and waking up already tired. A good evening routine sends a signal to your brain. It is safe to relax now. This may involve light reflection or journaling to close mental loops. Preparing your next day to reduce morning stress. Disconnecting from screens to calm the nervous system. Engaging in calming activities, reading, stretching, quiet time. Setting a consistent sleep schedule. When your brain receives these cues consistently, you fall asleep easier, sleep deeper, and wake up more refreshed. A strong evening routine protects your mental health as much as it protects your productivity. Consistency is the heart of routine. Consistent routines generate emotional stability. Emotional stability comes from having predictable rhythms. Parts of the day where your brain knows exactly what to expect. When life feels uncertain or overwhelming, routines provide a sense of safety and control. They help regulate your mood, reduce anxiety, and prevent emotional swings. When routines are repeated, they create psychological anchors, stable points in your day that keep you grounded. Your brain becomes less reactive and more intentional. You start responding instead of reacting. You feel calmer because your day has structure. And a calm mind is a productive mind. But perhaps the most powerful aspect of routine is its ability to make productivity feel effortless. Routine turns effort into autopilot productivity. The tasks you repeat become habits. The habits you structure become routines. And routines eliminate friction. They turn actions that once required effort into automatic behaviors. This is the essence of high performance, doing important things without struggling to start them. When routines take over, you no longer battle procrastination every day. You no longer waste time deciding when to begin. You no longer rely on motivation. Your workflow becomes smoother and more natural. Your identity grows stronger because you behave consistently. Routines transform your life through repetition, turning discipline into instinct. Your actions become aligned with your goals. Your habits build the version of yourself you want to become. And the best part? You stop feeling overwhelmed because your days are designed with intention. To build powerful routines, follow these principles. 1. Start small. A routine built on tiny, consistent actions beats a routine built on unrealistic demands. 2. Tie routines to existing behaviors. Anchor new habits to stable habits. Wake up, hydrate plan. 3. Keep routines predictable, not rigid. Structure is helpful, but allow flexibility for real life. 4. Review and refine regularly. Your routines must evolve as your goals evolve. 5. Make routines enjoyable. Pleasure increases consistency. Add elements you genuinely enjoy. Routines are not just schedules. They are self-designed systems that shape your identity, emotions, productivity, and future. When your day flows from routine, your life flows from intention. You stop surviving your hours and start shaping them. You stop reacting to life and start directing it. Your routine is the silent architect of your destiny. Design it wisely, live it consistently, and you'll unlock a level of clarity, calm, and productivity that motivation alone could never create. Chapter 13. Using time blocking. Time blocking is one of the most powerful tools in modern productivity because it transforms your day from a vague list of intentions into a structured, purposeful workflow. Most people say they don't have time, but the truth is that they don't manage their time. They drift through the day reacting to tasks, interruptions, and impulses. This constant reactivity leads to overwhelm, procrastination, and mental fatigue. Time blocking solves these problems by giving your day shape, clarity, and boundaries. Time blocking creates structure and reduces overwhelm. When your schedule is divided into clear, intentional blocks, your mind no longer has to guess what to do next. Structure eliminates the chaos that drains motivation. Time blocking works because it gives your brain containment, a psychological space where one activity matters and everything else can wait. Instead of juggling multiple tasks at once or switching constantly, you give each task a dedicated home. The result is deeper focus, smoother workflow, and greater productivity. Each block becomes a promise to yourself. When you sit down to work, you aren't negotiating with your thoughts or emotions. Your schedule already tells you where your energy belongs. This is why time blocking dramatically reduces stress. You replace uncertainty with clarity, and clarity gives your mind room to breathe. To use time blocking effectively, you must think in terms of purpose, not minutes. Assign each block one purpose: deep work, admin, rest. A time block is not a general chunk of time. It is a container assigned to a specific type of work. Deep work blocks are for intense, cognitively demanding tasks that require full attention. Writing, studying, planning, problem-solving, designing. These blocks should happen during your peak energy hours. Admin blocks are for low-effort tasks such as emails, scheduling, organizing, or basic communication. Rest blocks are essential because they allow your brain to recover and prevent burnout. Without breaks, productivity collapses. When you give each block a single intention, your brain knows exactly what state it needs to be in. Deep work time means no distractions. Admin time means quick tasks. Rest time means stepping away without guilt. This separation of purposes is powerful because it reduces cognitive switching costs. You're no longer blending tasks or mixing energy levels. You're matching your brain's natural rhythm to the type of work you're doing. But time blocks only work when they are respected. Protect blocks as if they were appointments. People often treat their tasks casually, but treat appointments with others seriously. The trick is to give your own time the same respect you give to other people. When you schedule a time block, imagine it as a formal meeting with yourself, your goals, and your future. You wouldn't cancel a doctor appointment at the last minute or walk out of an important meeting just because you felt distracted. Apply that same commitment to your blocks. Protecting your time block means turning on Do Not Disturb, closing unnecessary tabs, putting your phone away, avoiding impulsive task switching, communicating boundaries to others when needed. When you defend your time blocks, your productivity skyrockets. When you allow interruptions to invade them, the blocks lose their meaning. Time blocking teaches you ownership of your attention, your schedule, and your mental energy. The quiet power of time blocking is its ability to eliminate drift. Time blocks prevent you from drifting. Drifting happens when you move through your day without direction, scrolling, switching tasks, reacting instead of acting. Drift is the enemy of progress. It steals hours without you noticing. Time blocks eliminate drift because every minute has a purpose before the day begins. You don't wander, you execute. You don't guess, you follow the structure. This doesn't mean life becomes rigid. It means your direction becomes intentional. You can still adjust if needed, but adjustments are conscious, not accidental. When your day is blocked, your mind stays anchored. There's no space for what should I do now? Or maybe I'll start in a bit. You reduce self-negotiation, the internal debate that wastes emotional energy. Instead, you glide from one block to the next with a sense of flow. Even if your blocks are simple, like 2 hours of focused work, 1 hour of admin, 30 minutes of exercise, or a break for lunch, they create a natural rhythm that keeps your day moving. Over time blocking does something even more powerful. Structure builds discipline effortlessly. Discipline is often misunderstood as grit or force. But the easiest form of discipline is the one that requires the least willpower. Time blocking gives you that. It creates automatic discipline through routine and clarity. When your schedule is structured, your behavior becomes structured. You stop relying on motivation and start relying on patterns. Your focus increases because the structure supports it. Your consistency improves because your routine reinforces it. This is why the most successful people in the world, athletes, creators, CEOs, thinkers, use structured days. They know that discipline is not something you fight for. It is something you design. Time blocking reduces decision fatigue, removes emotional friction, and creates a daily system that moves you forward. You begin to spend your time intentionally, not accidentally. In the end, time blocking is more than a planning strategy. It's a mindset. It tells your brain, this time matters. This work matters. This life matters. When you treat your time with respect, it transforms everything you do. Chapter 14. Tracking and reviewing your time. Productivity is not just about effort. It's about awareness. You cannot improve something you never examine. You cannot fix patterns you cannot see. Most people think they know how they spend their time, but the mind is notoriously inaccurate at estimating hours. Tasks that feel short might consume half the day. Moments of scrolling can add up to hours. Time leaks go unnoticed because they blend into daily routines. This is why the foundation of true productivity is simple but transformative. You can't improve what you don't measure. When you start tracking your time, you turn invisible habits into visible data. You replace assumptions with clarity. You begin to understand your real patterns instead of the stories you tell yourself. Time tracking is not about control or perfection. It is about awareness. Awareness is powerful because it creates the opportunity for intentional change. Without that awareness, you repeat the same day over and over again, wondering why progress feels slow. The process is straightforward. Track how you actually spend your hours. You don't need a complicated system. A simple notebook, app, spreadsheet, or timer works. The goal is to record what you do, when you do it, and how long it takes. Track your activities in blocks. Work, breaks, deep work, admin, scrolling, resting, eating, distractions, and so on. You don't need to track every minute. Track the major categories that shape your day. This process accomplishes three powerful things. It reveals your true habits. It exposes your time drains. It builds self-honesty, the foundation of improvement. Once you begin tracking, patterns emerge quickly. You start noticing where your time actually goes. Some activities are necessary but inefficient. Others are completely accidental. You begin to see the truth. Your results are not determined by how much time you have, but by how you use the time you already have. And this leads to the next step. Identify time leaks, scrolling, overthinking, switching tasks. A time leak is anything that steals minutes without giving value in return. These leaks are subtle but destructive. They hide in your day like small cracks that drain energy and momentum. The biggest time leaks include 1. Scrolling. Social media is designed to stretch minutes into hours. Even just checking creates micro leaks that destroy focus. 2. Overthinking. You lose time not by acting, but by hesitating. Thinking too much before starting can consume more time than the task itself. 3. Task switching. Every time you switch tasks, your brain loses 20 to 30% efficiency. Even small switches, email, work, messages, drain mental energy and extend work time dramatically. 4. Low-value tasks. Busy work, unnecessary meetings, excessive emails, or repetitive tasks that add little progress. 5. Disorganized starts. You waste time trying to figure out what to do instead of having a plan ready. These leaks don't just take time. They steal attention, clarity, and emotional energy. When you track them, you become aware of how often you slip into them. And once you see them clearly, you gain the power to eliminate them. However, tracking is only half the equation. The true transformation happens when you step back and reflect. Weekly reviews guide adjustments and improvements. A weekly review is a short period, 15 to 30 minutes, where you analyze your track data. You ask yourself, where did my time go this week? What drained my energy unnecessarily? Which hours were most productive? Which tasks took longer than expected? What can I eliminate, delegate, or automate? What habits made my life easier? What habits slow me down? What should I focus on next week? Weekly reviews are powerful because they turn scattered time into intentional time. They help you refine your routines, improve your time blocks, anticipate problems, and build smarter strategies. This reflection prevents you from repeating unproductive patterns. It ensures each week becomes better than the last. The purpose of reviews is not judgment, it's evolution. You're not trying to shame yourself into improvement. You're trying to understand yourself into improvement. Time tracking and reviewing work hand in hand to create a feedback loop. Your week isn't random anymore. It becomes a continuous, conscious cycle of learning, adjusting, and optimizing. Every review makes your next week smoother, more focused, and more aligned with your goals. And this leads to the final truth of time mastery. Awareness transforms time usage permanently. Awareness is the beginning of all change. When you become aware of how you spend time, you begin to use it with intention. You gain control. You stop drifting. You reduce waste. You focus on what matters. You take ownership of your days instead of letting them slip away. The more aware you become, the more your time reflects the life you want to build. Awareness is not about perfection. It's about direction. It turns unconscious habits into conscious decisions. It replaces guesswork with clarity. It transforms time from something that happens to you into something you shape deliberately. When you track your time and review it regularly, you gain the most powerful skill of all, the ability to design your days with purpose. Chapter 15. Living a focused, time-mastered life. The ultimate goal of productivity is not to fill your days with more work or squeeze every second for maximum output. The true purpose is transformation, creating a life where your time reflects your values, your actions reflect your priorities, and your days reflect the future you want to build. Mastery isn't about pressure, it's about clarity, and clarity begins with focus. Focus becomes identity when practiced daily. When you practice focus consistently, through routines, time blocking, distraction reduction, deep work, and intentional choices, it stops being something you do and becomes something you are. Focus becomes part of your character. You start feeling discomfort when you're drifting or wasting time. Your brain becomes trained to enter productive states naturally. You become a person who values attention, not noise. A person who chooses meaning over distraction. A person whose identity is built on intention. This is the essence of a focused life. You don't chase everything. You choose what matters. You don't respond to every stimulus. You respond to your vision. You don't rely on motivation. You rely on systems, structure, and discipline shaped by identity. When focus becomes who you are, procrastination, distraction, and overwhelm lose their power. You carry clarity with you. But living a focused life requires breaking a big myth. That time mastery is restrictive. The opposite is true. Time mastery gives you freedom, not restriction. When your time is unmanaged, life feels chaotic. You feel overwhelmed, reactive, stressed, and constantly behind. But when your time is intentional, when your day has structure, your tasks have purpose, and your mind has direction, you gain freedom. Freedom from stress. Freedom from confusion. Freedom from wasted hours. Freedom from regret. Mastering your time is not about controlling every minute. It's about ensuring the important things always have a place. It gives you the ability to rest without guilt, work without chaos, and live without constant pressure. With time mastery, you know what matters, when to do it, and why it matters. This is freedom. The freedom to live a life aligned with your vision instead of drifting in uncertainty. As your systems strengthen, something remarkable happens. Productivity becomes effortlessness when aligned with purpose. You stop forcing yourself to work. You stop fighting with procrastination. You stop negotiating with your brain. The resistance fades because your daily actions start to feel meaningful and connected to something bigger. When purpose fuels your productivity, effort becomes lighter. Purpose transforms tasks into stepping stones. Purpose replaces discipline with desire. Purpose makes consistency feel natural. The people who achieve the most aren't necessarily the most disciplined. They are the most aligned. Their work, values, time, and identity move in the same direction. When alignment replaces friction, productivity stops being a struggle and becomes a rhythm. You don't push, you flow. Purpose also strengthens focus. When you know why you're doing something, your attention sharpens. Distractions feel less tempting. Your energy lasts longer. You build momentum faster. And with each day of aligned action, your life becomes more intentional. This leads to a deeper truth. A focused mind naturally creates a focused life. Your inner state becomes your outer reality. If your mind is scattered, your life will be scattered. If your mind is disciplined, your days will be disciplined. Focus begins internally with your thoughts, your choices, your emotional regulation, your habits. As your mind becomes trained to direct its attention, your outer world begins to reflect that internal focus. You start choosing environments that support clarity. You build relationships that honor your time. You design routines that stabilize your emotions. You protect your energy more intentionally. You set boundaries that safeguard your goals. Your life begins shaping itself around your growing clarity. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. What once felt impossible becomes achievable. What once felt foggy becomes sharp. Ultimately, every chapter in this journey leads here. Mastering your time is mastering your future. Time is life. How you use your hours determines the direction of your days. How you use your days determines the story of your years. When you master your time, you master your growth, your career, your health, your relationships, your creativity, and your purpose. You take control of your narrative instead of letting life write it for you. Time mastery is not perfection, it is intention. Not rigidity, but direction. Not pressure, but power. Not control, but clarity. When you live a focused, time-mastered life, you no longer struggle to become your best self. You become that person through your daily actions. Every hour becomes a step toward your vision. Every decision becomes aligned with your purpose. Every routine becomes a foundation for success. And every day becomes an opportunity to build the future you choose. Time mastery is not about managing the clock. It is about managing who you are becoming. Time is the most democratic resource in the world. Everyone receives the same 24 hours. But the difference between a drifting life and a directed life is how those hours are used. You've learned the psychology behind focus, the systems behind productivity, and the mindset behind mastering your time. Time mastery is not about working endlessly. It's about working intentionally. It's about spending your attention on what matters and refusing to waste it on what doesn't. When you control your time, you control your habits. When you control your habits, you control your identity. And when you control your identity, you control your life. Use your hours wisely. Protect your focus aggressively. Build systems that support your goals. Because the future belongs to those who master their time. Master your time, and you will master your life.